What would you trade for wealth? Pause and think about that question. Would you trade your sleep, your peace, your future? Or would you trade something far more dangerous? This is not a story meant to entertain you. This is not a movie. This is not fiction created for fun. This is a lesson, a warning, a mirror, because there are people who did not wait for success. They did not grow patiently. They did not build slowly. They chose a shortcut. They accepted wealth they did not earn from a source they did not understand. And what they received was not a gift. It was a loan, a borrowed wealth, with a repayment date hidden in silence. Tonight, you will hear the story of three boys, poor boys, hungry boys, boys who were tired of being nothing. They were fed by the devil himself to acquire wealth beyond imagination. For years, they enjoyed everything money could buy: power, fame, respect. But when the time came, the lender returned, and when he came back, he did not ask for money. He collected their lives, their properties, their legacy, and in the end, they didn't even keep their bodies. Stay with me, because by the end of this story, you may never desire shortcuts again. The town did not scream its pain. It whispered it. Old houses leaned on one another as if they were tired of standing alone. The roads were broken, not just by time, but by neglect. In this town, hunger was not an emergency. It was routine. Children learned early that dreams were expensive and hope was a luxury. People woke up every morning already tired, not from work, but from surviving. Here, rejection was normal, failure was expected, and poverty was inherited. Men with potential became shadows. Women with talent became silent, and children grew up learning one lesson very quickly: life does not care. At night, darkness felt thicker here, as if the air itself was heavy, because desperation has weight, and where desperation gathers, something always listens. Darkness is not invited with rituals alone. It is invited by hopelessness, by hunger, by unanswered prayers. This was not a place where evil arrived suddenly. It was a place where it was welcomed without words. And it was in this forgotten town, under this constant suffering, that three boys were born. They were born years apart, but poverty raised them the same way. The first boy was Elias. Elias was quiet, always watching, always thinking. He noticed how money changed people, how respect followed wealth, and disappeared without it. Teachers said he was intelligent, but intelligence did not feed him. So slowly, his thoughts became heavy. The second boy was Jonah. Jonah was angry at life, angry at empty promises, angry at effort that produced nothing. Hunger made him aggressive. Failure made him violent. He did not want explanations. He wanted results. The third boy was Micah. Micah dreamed loudly in a place where dreaming was dangerous. He wanted to be seen, to be heard, to escape the silence of poverty, but dreams without opportunity become frustration. The three boys met not through destiny, but through suffering. Same streets, same hunger, same rejection. They shared food when there was any, shared silence when there wasn't, and slowly their conversations changed from hope to anger, from patience to questions no one should ask. They did not know it yet. But their bond was forming something darker than friendship, because when desperate minds think together, they think faster, and not always in the right direction. They tried the right way. At least, they thought they did. Elias stayed in school longer than most. He read books he could not afford, studied under weak light with an empty stomach. But intelligence did not change his address. Certificates piled up, but opportunities never arrived. Jonah chose work instead of school, manual labor, security jobs, dangerous errands for small pay. He worked harder than many men twice his age, yet each night he returned home poorer than he left. Micah chased talent. He sang, he performed, he spoke dreams into empty rooms. People clapped, then walked away. Exposure did not pay rent. Applause did not buy food. Slowly, hope began to feel like a lie. They watched others succeed, not the hardest workers, but the most connected. They heard stories of sudden wealth, mysterious breakthroughs, overnight success. And the same question kept returning. If effort is the answer, why does it keep failing us? Patience started to feel foolish. Honesty began to feel expensive. Even prayer became uncomfortable because silence after prayer hurts more than rejection. And in that silence, their hunger grew louder. When legitimate paths refuse to open, the mind begins to search for illegal doors. Not because people love evil, but because desperation is persuasive, and desperation does not care about consequences. It started as a conversation, nothing dramatic, nothing planned, just three tired boys, sitting in the dark, with nothing to lose. The night was quiet, too quiet. Silence has a way of pushing thoughts forward. Jonah broke it first. He laughed, but there was no humor in his voice. He said, "People say the devil rewards those who serve him." Silence followed, not because it was funny, but because it sounded possible. Elias looked away. Micah said nothing. The idea hung in the air. Heavy, dangerous, Jonah continued. If good behavior keeps us poor, then maybe we're playing the wrong game. No one argued, because, deep down, they had all questioned it. Micah finally spoke. "Do you think those stories are real?" That question changed everything, not because of the words, but because of the hunger behind them. They talked about rituals, about shortcuts, about people who became rich overnight. They laughed again. But the laughter was forced because jokes stop being jokes when curiosity listens closely. Elias tried to sound reasonable. "Every deal has a cost," Jonah replied calmly. "So does poverty." And that was the moment patience cracked, the moment fear stepped back. Because when suffering lasts too long, danger begins to feel like courage. They did not perform a ritual, they did not call a name, but intention is louder than words, and something heard them. Darkness does not always arrive immediately. Sometimes it waits to be welcomed. It did not come with fire, it did not come with noise. Darkness rarely announces itself. It came quietly, like an answer. Days passed after that conversation. Nothing changed, and yet everything felt different. Elias noticed opportunities appearing suddenly, conversations overheard, numbers aligning too perfectly. Jonah met a man who asked no question and offered fast money. Micah received a message, an invitation, a door that had been closed for years, opened without effort. It felt unnatural. Then came the voice, not out loud, not in the air, inside, calm, confident, patient. It did not threaten them. It did not scare them. It spoke like a business partner. "You are tired of waiting. You deserve more. I can feed you." The offer was simple. Wealth without delay, success without struggle, power without patience, no timelines, no suffering, just one condition. What I give will return to me. No explanation, no details, only silence after the words. They felt fear, but hunger was louder. The voice did not rush them. Darkness never rushes. It knows desperation will decide. And slowly, one by one, they listened. No signatures were written, No blood was spilled. That is how it usually happens. The agreement was not made with paper, but with desire. Elias was the first to understand the weight of it. He asked quietly, "What exactly do you want in return?" The voice did not answer immediately. Silence returned, then calmly, almost gently, it spoke. "When the time comes, you will return everything. Nothing more, no date, no warning, just certainty." Jonah laughed. He said, "If wealth is the price, then take whatever you want later." Micah hesitated, not because he was strong, but because fear briefly remembered him. But hunger always wins arguments. They agreed, not with courage, but with exhaustion. And that night they were fed, not with food, but with access. Something changed inside them, a quiet shift. They did not feel pain. They did not feel joy. They felt numb. Something left them, something human, and something else took its place. By morning, they were no longer ordinary boys. They had crossed a line that does not allow return. The change was immediate, not gradual, not explainable, immediate. Elias made one decision, and money followed it. Numbers began to work in his favor. Deals closed themselves. Risk no longer felt dangerous. Jonah entered spaces where his past should have disqualified him. Men respected him without knowing why. Fear arrived before his name. Money flowed, fast and heavy. Micah's talent was suddenly discovered. The same voice that once ignored him now called repeatedly. Stages appeared. Audiences grew. Applause became loud and constant. People called it luck. They called it blessing. But luck does not erase fear. At night, sleep became shallow. Dreams felt watched. The wealth came without effort. But peace refused to follow. Still, they kept eating because hunger does not recognize danger once it tastes abundance. And for the first time in their lives, they were afraid of losing. Wealth not changed how people saw them, but it changed how they saw themselves even more. Elias stopped trusting numbers. They no longer felt neutral. He began checking accounts repeatedly, not to count money, but to confirm it was still there. Sleep avoided him. When he closed his eyes, he saw everything disappearing. Jonah grew suspicious of everyone. Loyalty felt temporary. Respect felt borrowed. He slept with weapons nearby, not because of enemies, but because of silence. Micah smiled in public and went empty in private. His applause felt loud, but hollow. When the lights went off, he felt smaller than before success. They could buy anything except rest, because deep inside they knew this was not normal wealth. This was borrowed, and borrowed things eventually demand return. Each of them felt watched, not followed, watched like a reminder. Darkness does not interrupt enjoyment. It observes and waits. It happened without warning. That is how collections begin. Jonah was the first, not the weakest, not the poorest, the boldest. One night, power turned against him. The men who once feared him stood silent. No struggle, no mercy. As he fell, witnesses said he whispered, "It's time, isn't it?" By morning, he was gone, but death was not the end. Within days, everything Jonah owned disappeared. Accounts froze. Properties were seized. His name vanished from conversations. Even his funeral was quiet. It was as if he had never existed. The devil does not argue. He collects, and when he does, he takes everything. Jonah's death changed the air, not just around them, inside them. Elias stopped pretending. He knew the agreement was real. Numbers betrayed him. Deals collapsed overnight. Logic abandoned him. He began to hear things, whispers in quiet rooms, reminders in silence. Sleep became impossible. He started writing calculations on walls. trying to predict the moment, trying to outthink what cannot be outthought. Micah watched him fall apart, and fear finally spoke clearly. Elias died quietly. No violence, no drama, just a sudden stop. A heart that refused to continue. But again, death was only the beginning. His companies dissolved without reason. Assets were reclaimed by forces unseen. Every possession returned to shadow. The second debt was paid, and the collector was not finished. Micah was alone now, not just physically, but spiritually. The noise that once surrounded him had disappeared. Stages felt empty. Applause sounded distant. For the first time, he heard his own thoughts clearly, and they told him the truth. The wealth was never a gift. It was a loan. The success was never favor. It was bait. He tried to give it away, tried to walk away, tried to disappear, but borrowed things do not release themselves. He remembered words, "What I give will return to me." Micah understood then, the devil does not chase people. He waits for deadlines, and deadlines do not negotiate. Every night he felt closer, not to death, but to collection. The night Micah died, there was no struggle, no scream, no escape, just acceptance. Witnesses later said the house was quiet, too quiet. When they found him, his body was untouched, no wounds, no sign of violence, as if life had simply been withdrawn. And once again, death was not the final act. By morning, everything was gone. Properties transferred without explanation. Accounts emptied. Assets dissolved. Nothing remained. Not his fame, not his wealth, not even his legacy. 3 boys had risen from nothing and returned to nothing. The devil had taken back what was never theirs, including their bodies. There is a lesson in this story, a quiet one, but a permanent one. Darkness does not give gifts. It issues loans, and every loan has a repayment date. Shortcuts feel attractive only until the bill arrives. What is built without patience cannot stand without fear. If you are struggling, wait. If you're hungry, endure. Because what comes from darkness always returns to darkness, and it never leaves you whole. Remember this, the devil does not make people rich. He only makes people temporary, and when he comes back, he takes everything, even the body.